everybody's of the mindset that what they currently have right now isn't enough, and that there is a split between those who think the Astros should go and get something, anything, no matter what the cost, and those who say roll the dice, let's see some guys return from injury. Should some guys return from injury, given how you were playing, at least at first, with all the injuries, stands to reason that you will be playing close to that level sooner rather than later. But it is assuming health. I find myself in the latter category. I think that given the limitations that the Astros have with a farm system that's pretty damn empty, and that is at this moment in time being forced to throw these minor league players straight into the fire, there's a part of me that thinks at some point you're going to have to think a little bit more about the big picture. And that's not to say that this is a year that the Astros should wave the white flag or be sellers. I see some people doing that. Calm down. One of the three best teams in the American League, you loser.
That has to just be attention-seeking behavior, whether it's like actually like engagement farming or just like, hey, everyone, look at me.
But I'm not just seeing it on X. I've seen a couple of texts about it too. So there is a sentiment in the fan base that after these last couple of weeks, that things are not going to go the way that they were earlier this year. You should have been realistic enough to know that already. We were there. We told you to be there. God wills it. We do not understand how this stretch is happening. A little bit of reality has crept in, and yet they are still in fine shape. And I don't think that they all of a sudden need to get aggressive at the trade deadline. Will they? We'll see. I'm not going to say no to anything that they do, but I've seen some people talking about them going after Eugenio Suarez, who's the top third baseman target out there. Does that make sense? Does it make sense to give up a lot for that guy to have for a brief amount of time? Even if this guy has a relationship with Jose Altuve, which I know was written about, does it really make that sense to go for the top shelf item at this moment in time? I don't think it does. I think you really got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be much better than I am right now. I just have to find a way to survive. The pitching has to get back to the way that the pitching has been. They've been the most disappointing thing about the last couple of weeks. The offense, it stinks because they're throwing guys out that no one had ever heard of. They're throwing guys out there that probably never even expected to play in the majors. Just to be frank.
Yeah.
They're realizing lifelong dreams. That's cool. But a little realism, a little pragmatism would be nice. And I think that also should apply to the Astros. They should realize what they have. And honestly, if it does lead to Dana Brown saying that Yordan Alvarez or Jeremy Pena or Christian Javier or Luis Garcia or Spencer Arrighetti are trade deadline acquisitions, I'm okay with it because they have played well enough to this point to be in a situation where they can't say a guy returning from injury is an acquisition.
I'm not okay with it.
You're not?
But that's more of a principle of just, I hate it when people say.
But they do it. They've done it so much.
They do it every year.
I want them to do it.
Yes.
I will be kind of disappointed and let down. It'll be like a year without Christmas.
I will say, I actually wouldn't completely hate it because that would mean at least these guys have come back. It means at the very least that they have rejoined the team and aren't just on the IL forever. So that will be the ray of sunshine in what would be a quote that made my eyes roll out of my head. But yeah, I think that you do that. That's the whole point of the God wills it thing, was that there's no explanation for how well they're playing.
You just have blind divine faith and assume it'll keep happening, but it's not going to eventually.
Yeah, the carriage just kind of turned back into a pumpkin. Yeah, like Zach Short, love you, buddy. Ready for Jeremy Pena to come back.
Same.
Cooper Hummel, again, salute to you. The Space Cowboys wouldn't be.
I'd rather see Chas McCormick.
Wouldn't be champions last year if it wasn't for you.
That's true.
Cooper Hummel.
So this is a dynasty potential
Yes.
in the AAA level, although I do not know what the Space Cowboys
can't
record is right
imagine
now.
they're doing well considering their entire team is on the major league
Unless
roster.
it's next made up for the Space Cowboys too, which would be pretty cool. Again, we haven't been paying that much attention to them.
Yeah, but the overall, they don't need to splurge when it comes to the deadline. If you want to make some, supporting moves, I'd be pro that.
Same. Chandler Rome wrote a piece about what the Astros might do at the trade deadline in The Athletic. Here's what Dana Brown and the Astros are planning right now. Quote, Brown and his baseball operations team entered July seeking a starting pitcher and a left-handed bat. They have 7 starting pitchers on the IL. Dana Brown seemed encouraged enough by some of their rehab work to move offense ahead of an arm on his priority list. Christian Javier made his 3rd minor league rehab start Thursday. Spencer Arrighetti is nearing his 2nd as well. So lefty bat and an infielder. They're probably going to trade from the major league roster to go get that guy. I am curious as to how recognizable that name is. They definitely have to get someone. I'm curious as to what the price would be if it means giving up someone that they really like. I don't think Bryce Matthews is on the table. I do wonder if Jacob Melton is potentially on the table. I do wonder about some of the other guys that are like, you like them, but you haven't seen enough of them yet. Do they get the Joey Loperfido for Yusei Kikuchi treatment? Kikuchi was good. And also Joey Loperfido is, he's been okay.
He's a guy.
Yeah. He's fun. He's great, good looking fielder.
Yes. He looks good out there in the outfield. I don't know if this is, the Bagwell trade from the Red Sox point of view, but it is, it's something that you get attached to these guys, and it's going to be especially interesting this year because Joey Loperfido didn't play that much, and when he did, it was kind of like a little bit of not a sideshow, but just like some guy who was on the Astros. The Astros now are all the guys that would be a trade piece, at least theoretically. Like Bryce Matthews, I don't know how much he actually changed his trade value by how he's played once he come up, because there's been peaks and valleys, I'd say. But in the minds of Astros fans, he's raised his he almost not single-handedly, but as far as the lineup goes, he was the only guy who scored runs in a game they won in Arizona. So like at a certain point, fans are naturally going to get attached to these guys. So it will be interesting of if any of these guys get shipped out, which especially Bryce Matthews, I don't think should, but what the reaction will be, especially if they're not going to make a sexy move, but it's going to cost a Jacob Melton or something.
And I think you got to be very, very careful because you've been doing this so much about giving up some of the young guys. There's a certain point where you do have to think about the big picture, even if it comes at the expense of this year. And that's not me saying to not go all in for this year. I just think you have to be a little more realistic and pragmatic. And I think some people are not quite being that right now. I think you're just saying, well, get me something new. Doesn't work like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they should go all in this year. Like they should be, like the whole Jim Crane quote of the title window's always open while I'm here. Like part of that is, like don't trade Bryce Matthews for 2 months of Eugenio Suarez. Like don't do that.
Yeah.
That's part of it. Is
if
like
you're healthy,
you don't make those kind of moves.
If you're healthy, you're a contender. You're not healthy right now.
If you're even like moderately healthy, I think you're a contender.
Yeah. A legit like front runner. You're one of the top 5-6 teams with a little more health. But right now, you don't have it. So don't go too crazy. By the way, this was Dana Brown on MLB Network Radio talking about the Astros trade deadline plans.
Yeah, I mean, a left-hand bat would be great, of course. And if you can get an infielder, with the, entry to Paredes, that would be great as well. So without a doubt, but look, if you get a left-hand bat, that's a really good bat. You put him in left field, or something like that, and put Altuve back at second. You can do things like that as well. But a left-hand bat would be the preference, and we'd like to try to get a good one. And if it's an infielder, it's a bonus. You go through seasons like this, you feel like you can write a book at the end of your career titled 162 and its grind. But It's just that when you play 162 games, it is a very difficult season. A lot of ups and downs, the ebbs and flows. But look, our guys are grinding, and we're pretty excited about the rest of the season.
Can that MLB Network radio guy breathe less? Can he tone down the breathing?
It's so funny. That's the first thing Dale pointed out when we played the song.
All I could hear.
It sounds like they're outside. Like it sounds like when there's a breeze going on. It's just the
dude. I mean, so I can't speak too ill because every now and then I'll be on an Instagram story after a long walk and you'll hear me breathing a little bit, or after going on a run or something like that. But yeah. By the way, there's been a few people I've hosted shows with before, and I was between a rock and a hard place when it comes to acknowledging the heavy breathing by this person and having fun with it and being a good guy. It was very tough. I chose be a good guy.
Two roads. There's a fork on the road.
In retrospect, I really, really wish I had called out their heavy breathing. In retrospect, it's no one currently at the station, but I just remember thinking to myself, "Are you okay?
Yeah,
you okay?"
If it's not a health issue, it's a. Can you please just like take back off the mic for like 2 inches? It's like hard to do. It's like we have to go out of our way to like.
Yeah,
like
sounds like the guy that's giving Peter the hypnosis treatment at the beginning of Office Space. Breathe deeper. And he croaks. I mean, goodness gracious.